Christians are both persecuted and prosecuted. Now, don't read something in the message that isn't there. We are not attacking evil with evil, but exposing evil so others are aware of its existence. Now, I'm doing a reality type show. This is part one. And it would be featuring the public's unofficial appellate court. This is after an actual trial has come to its conclusion. I will be giving actual accounts of what should be considered a gross miscarriage of justice. Excuse me. After looking at the files as they are presented, please share with your friends and offer an opinion. The one thing they don't teach in law school is common sense. Now, I believe it is something that can be taught, although only a few would be able to pass the course. Because the everyday citizen does not have that many adverse experiences, the courts can easily pull the wool over their eyes. When 90% of attorneys give the rest a bad name, where does one go? Anyone who chooses to defend themselves face a lose-lose proposition. When somebody represents themselves, they have a fool for a client. But at least that fool has honest representation. Before one becomes a judge, they were an attorney. And it is human nature for favoritism to lean towards one of their own kind. Beware. Isaiah chapter 1, verse 1 and 2. Woe to those who make unjust laws, to those who issue oppressive decrees to deprive the poor of their rights, and without justice from oppressed of my people, making widows of their prayer and robbing the fatherless. Now, what does this mean? Well, as Isaiah he declares woe on those in Israel and Judah who used the law to take advantage of the poor along with the sick and elderly. This also pertains to the courts of today. And although the judges may be able to ignore or twist the law, there will be a final reckoning. The judges will not escape the Lord's judgment. In modern day, Clark County, Washington, the judicial system has illegally and immorally ripped off the elderly. They did it in such a manner that goes beyond despicability. It appears as though there's a playbook in which attorneys work together to profit from unsuspecting senior citizens. They kind of share what these elderly people have saved up for their twilight years. The courts allow the attorneys to bend and even break the laws they swore to keep. On January 11, 2022, Carla Mauger filed a VAPO order. Now that's a vulnerable adult protection order, without her mother's knowledge, or permission. This was filed by attorney Grant Brower. Then he withdrew his name due to a conflict of interest. Now, what was that conflict of interest? The suit was filed in behalf of Joanne Kemper by her daughter without Joanne Kemper's knowledge. I had never, ever had any dealings with Mr. Brower or any other attorney at that time. But both Miss Mauger and Miss Kemper did have dealings with Grant Brower. Now, using the power of elimination and common sense, the case ended up literally being about Carla Mauger against her own mother and Ken Mosher for her own greedy needs. Now, this filing was done 5 days after she embezzled $45,000 from her mother's bank account. And in her declaration against me, she had the audacity to claim that I was the one who was untrustworthy. To add insult to injury, the judge ruled in favor of Carla Mauger's unsubstantiated statement against me and ignored Carla Mauger's 180-degree accusation, proven by actual confession and forever part of the court of records. Now, embezzlement is the fraudulent appropriation of property or money entrusted to one's care who has legal access to the funds but uses them for personal gain instead of their own intended purpose. Without, well, small theft of money or property may be a misdemeanor, but large-scale embezzlement is typically treated as a felony. I would believe $45,000 would be considered a large-scale amount. It may even go further than that, but the point has been made. Now, the penalties for felony embezzlement convictions can result in prison sentences of over a year, fines, and orders to pay the money back. The penalties are so severe they would most certainly keep a body from creating waves, whereas they can hide in the shadows. Could this possibly be the reason that Carla Mauger has a blasé attitude in regards to the misery her mother is going through? A kangaroo court is designed as, or described as, an unofficial court held by a group of people in order to try someone, especially without good evidence as to any guilt in the crime. Now, sometimes the legal justice system turn their courts into a kangaroo court. Since the nightmare started, the courts have made a solid effort to keep Joanne from having any voice in the matter. Unless the judge had the court videos and transcripts altered, there would be ample proof this trial should have ended before it started. But there'd be no profit in that. The very first hearing, and when Joanne Kemper was informed that I was being banished from her home, she emphatically stated that she did not want Carla Mauger or Reese Minor as her caregivers. The judge replied, "We will find you someone other than Carla Mauger or Reese Minor." Judge Ratsenis did not follow up on her word. Instead, she allowed Stacy Bollinger, who she appointed as guardian, to make harmful decisions against Joanne Kemper to protect the judge, I suppose. Stacy Bollinger is a name that keeps popping up in a negative way. At least 3 of her appointed elders have suffered in horrific results, and the Clark County should be well aware of the cases involved in Linda McDowell, Vic Hoffman, and now Joanne Kemper. There is a 98% effort to keep Joanne Kemper from having a voice. Since that opening session, there has been none. 100% of the attorneys are keeping Joanne Kemper locked up in an unlawful imprisonment. This is where Grant Brower enters the picture again. He changed chairs and went from conflicting of interest to non-conflict of interest. Only in Clark County that I'm aware of can attorneys have it both ways. But there'll be more on that later. As you will be able to see, the same names keep popping up in case after case, all related. I tried to include a video in one of my petitions, but the court office called and informed me that DVDs were not accepted. So I had a transcript of the DVD, and the judge did allow the text version to be read in court. The transcript was done by an outside source and read by attorney Karen Manker. So opposing attorney Jim Sinescu, who by the way replaced Grant Brower, but he could not claim things were taken out of context. Mr. Sinescu presented a weak defense by stating there was leading statements before Joanne responded. When the video is exposed, it will show everyone that I furnished a topic and then asked for her view. I will include that DVD in this session. Maybe I gave the judge too much credit when I thought she was capable of seeing through the weak response, or maybe she didn't want to make note of it. The court instructed me to discontinue doing videos of interviews, but they did not order me to destroy the ones that I had already done, as you will see in this session and others to follow. These are voices the courts want hidden. Now, in this particular session, The second video is Joanne Kemper's own unsolicited thoughts on what she wanted and what she feared. Further proof, the courts don't care about the elderly, but they do care about the elderly's money and how fast they can eliminate it. There is something else the courts ignored. For the past 3 years that Stacy Bollinger has eliminated assets from Joanne's estate to the tune of over $50,000 per year. Now, if you would take any 3 years that I was involved with Joanne Kemper and living in her house, you would see, and it would be proven, that her assets grew $50,000 and never declined. But the courts don't want you to see that. Now you view these programs and you will see all the corruption. It's all been laid out in their game plan. Till later. Okay, Joanne. This morning, are your mind pretty straight right now?
Yes.
Now you're aware that you're having a little bit of trouble with dementia.
Yes.
But do you remember this morning telling me that you last night thought about suicide?
Yes, I did.
And why would you think such a thing?
I'm under a lot of stress from my daughter. I just can't find a way to let her or make her stop what she's doing. There's just no reason for it.
Now, if she is successful in forcing me out of your life, what do you think will become of you?
She will probably put me in a nursing home someplace, out of her way. She doesn't care about me. It's the money.
Do you remember telling me that she hasn't bothered with you when you were well, so why is she coming around that you're sick? Do you remember saying that?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I love Ken Mosher. I want to spend the rest of my life with him. My daughter has tried everything to split us up. I want to live with Ken.